What's going on, everybody? It's Gadara. Today I'm going to be talking about the new project 1111 and how I'm going to go forward with this vision that I have for myself and hopefully can guide others. The motto for 1111 itself is that yesterday and tomorrow are beginning right now. Everything happening right now. A lot of people talk about time being non-linear, but what I want people to understand is that the past has already happened. The future has infinite possibilities, so all we can focus on is right now. And we focus on right now because this is when we can make the hugest impact, the biggest impact on what we've learned from the past, and also what we intend to manifest in the future. And with the way going forward with that, 1111 is also about rebirth and new beginnings. I think a lot of times we spend so much time stuck in the past that we don't allow ourselves to be reborn. We don't allow ourselves to start new. And when we try to, we deny things from our past instead of accepting them. And that's what I want to focus. I want to focus truly on accepting the past. I want to say, this happened to me. I can't change it. What am I going to do to adapt, become resilient, and overcome it so that I can become the best version of myself in the future? And part of doing that is allowing ourselves to heal, which healing is a process. I know some people seem to think that you have to heal in a certain amount of time, but you don't. You don't have to heal in 5 minutes. You don't have to heal in 1 month. You don't have to heal in 4 years. There's no time limit for healing. You take as much time as you need to heal. But with that being said, you have to make the decision to want to heal. If you start giving up on yourself, it's okay to take a break, but truly, truly never give up on yourself. There's so many different avenues out there and ways to seek help. There's so many people out there that are willing to help you. And processing our healing, that comes along with processing our fears. When we begin to process our fears, we begin to understand our fears better and much more on a different level. We've all got fears. Even though I was a combat veteran, I was in the Army for a little over 13 years, I have fears myself. I have had fears of, being alone. I had fears of feeling like I would be a monster for the rest of my life. I had fears that I might not be good at anything other than being a soldier. But with a lot of time and I would say the mastery of self, I was able to overcome those fears. I was able to create somewhat of a dome in my life to completely understand, okay, this is what I want to do. This is where I see myself. I'm standing here next to a frame, and when you look at this frame, it might seem broken and damaged. But when I see this frame, this framework is like the framework we have for ourselves. As you start to begin to rebuild yourself, these new beginnings, this new rebirth, you start to analyze the old parts of the frame. You start to replace things. That's like replacing your thoughts, changing the way you think from negative to a little bit more positive. It doesn't mean that you're going to be positive 24/7, which is impossible. But it means you're learning to transmute those negative thoughts into more positive ones. And I bring that up because a lot of people forget that if you tend to think more positively, more positive things will happen, or you'll tend to notice more positive things. If you tend to think more negativity, then negative things are most likely to happen, and you'll only notice the negative things. Another part of that concept is mental transmutation. When it comes to mental transmutation and how we process things, mental transmutation is all about changing our everyday thoughts, which are like base metals, into a form of personal enlightenment, which is like gold, which is what most people would refer to as alchemy. The philosopher's stone is somewhat internal. That beautiful ruby, that beautiful gem, that beautiful shine that we're usually seeking outside of us is actually inside of us. It's right here in our heart. It's in that place that we at times tend to forget about. We tend to forget about healing ourselves, getting to know thyself. Another topic that I'll be touching on as far as 1111 goes is synchronicities. Everything is so synchronous. Nothing is coincidence. All these things that happen in our life are happening for a reason. They're happening because of source. Now, it doesn't mean with all these downloads that we receive that we're going to be ready for everything, because we're not always ready. Sometimes we're just not ready for the message. Sometimes the seed is planted and we're not meant to understand it until a later date in our life. There are lessons that I learned from my masters and teachers when I was 11, 12, 13 years old that I'm just now understanding. And I'm only just now understanding it because I'm at a time in my life when I'm ready to understand it. So know that there's going to be lessons that you just don't completely understand right now, but know that the seed has been planted. The seed was planted when it was supposed to be planted. So take the time to process each lesson as you get them. You might receive multiple downloads at one time and not be able to process them all at once, but that's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to try to understand everything as it's happening. Take time for yourself, you know. When I first started reading the Kabbalion, I know a lot of people that had read the Kabbalion in, I don't know, maybe a few days, 2 or 3 days. I began reading it and I learned that I couldn't just buzz through it all. I had to take time to truly understand each section by section, each chapter by chapter. I would read a chapter, I would take notes, and I would process and implement it into my life. I say this because I've met some people that have, I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. There's people that will read something and they'll watch videos and they'll listen to podcasts and they'll do all these things, but they won't actually take the time to process what's going on in their life. And if you don't take the time to process the things that are going on in your life, and you don't take the time to use these things, then you're not really learning much. If I read 100 books and watch 100 podcasts and I watch 100 videos online, if I don't actually take the time to use these things in my own life, then what good am I doing myself? I'm building all of this knowledge and knowledge and knowledge, but it's not actually wisdom because I don't have the experience. Experience is something I think we should all seek. I think I heard a quote before, there's too many preachers, but there's not enough people that are actually doing, And if you're not actually out there doing it, the advice that you're giving people, what's going to happen when they seek more information about it? Then you're only just giving them knowledge. And at some point, that student that you have might become the teacher. And at this point, sometimes a spiritual ego might take over and we get upset. We start thinking, why is this person doing something that I was unable to do? That's the ego part of us deep down inside. You get angry and, they ask you questions and you tell yourself, no, you're wrong. This isn't how it's supposed to be. But you really have to ask yourself, have you actually experienced that? Have you gone through the process of learning what it feels like to do what you're actually telling people? That's where the saying comes from, practice what you preach. We need to start practicing more of what we preach. If we're not practicing what we preach, then who are we? I guess I'd say one of the last things to go over is just thinking about, and reminding ourselves that our past memories are just pages in our old stories, our old books. What we need to focus on is highlighting the lessons. I know we all have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of books to document our life, chapter after chapter after chapter of the things we've gone through, the mistakes we've made. But the days of focusing on these mistakes should be over. We have to let these moments go. We need to start looking at the highlights. We need to start looking at the summarizations of our past and being like, okay, I made a couple mistakes down the road, what you might call mistakes, those lessons that are actually blessings. But what am I going to do to move forward from that? How am I going to ensure that I don't do that again? What am I going to do to make sure that the next time I'm confronted with this scenario, I'm better off? And that's what 1111 is about. Again, 1111 is all about rebirth. It's about new beginnings. It's about finding ourselves, redefining, and exploring what we considered to be labels. I have a quote that I tell people about defining myself. D and find itself. To D something is to just separate it. To find something is somewhat of the higher quality. So why would you want to separate your higher quality? Why would you want to define or label yourself? I think we should just take away these labels and live the life that we've always been meant to live. As part of my rebirth, I decided to move. I decided to change where I was. I left Germany. I went to South America. I spent a lot of time in Peru. And that time in Peru led me on to where I am now. Right now, I am in the Sonoran Desert out here in Tucson, Arizona, living my best life because I wanted to make that change. And I want to help people and guide people to also make that change because I feel like a lot of us want to experience that rebirth, but we're not sure how to. So I will dedicate my life and my time through my wisdom and my knowledge to helping others grow, to helping others learn, to helping others see the vast infinite possibilities that we have of this world. This is an endless, endless desert of possibilities. Our life is full of sand. The sand will slow us down. Our life is full of rain. The rain will give us, sometimes make us depressed. But what really matters is that we stay resilient, that we stay vigilant, that we keep fighting, that we keep moving, that we keep loving. So that's what 11/11 is all about. I look forward to this experience with every single one of you. Let's get it.